Hello friends, my name is Leigh and I create videos about photography as an art and as a lifestyle. I use all different types of cameras, but today we are talking about my next camera, the OM System OM-5. Now why do I all of a sudden want a camera that was introduced 2 years ago? Why in the world am I adding an entirely new system to my shelves? I know, it sounds wild, but I'll explain. I'll also show you how I set this camera up for my different outings, how I customize the controls and stuff to make it work for me. So keep watching and make sure you're subscribed. Subscribing, liking videos, and commenting are free and the largest way that you can help support the channel. You may have seen my first foray into OM system cameras a few months ago when I used the OM-1 Mark II, which is the flagship in the system. I carried it and multiple lenses ranging from wide angle to super telephoto, all in my pack while hiking around on a Grand Canyon camping trip. The system is smaller and lighter in weight than my full frame counterparts because the lenses are engineered specifically for the 4/3 sensor. It was the first time since I had a couple back surgeries last year that I was able to carry around so many lenses at once. And then the response to the video was wild. A lot of folks were really happy to see me using OM system and wanted to see more. And since I enjoyed my time with the gear, it made me think that I should explore this system more. And explore I have. I have quite a lot of gear borrowed from OM system right now, including this OM-5, which I have decided that I want to own. Before we go on, let me take a moment to thank KEH for sponsoring this portion of the video. KEH is my favorite resource for used photography gear. They are also my first stop for selling any gear that I'm no longer using. And with a new camera system in the house, you can be sure that I have my eye on the Micro Four Thirds section of KEH. I particularly want this OM System 90mm f3.5 macro lens. You'll see photos that I captured with that lens that I had borrowed later in this video. Or you know what? I would be super happy if someone gave me a gift card to KEH. I'll bet you would be happy about that too. So maybe put one of those on your wish list this holiday season. I will put some links in the description of this video to OM system gear, to the gift cards, as well as my affiliate links and codes to buy and to sell. Using my codes gets you a discount on the purchase of gear and a bonus on the sale of gear. Thank you to those of you that use those links because I do receive a small commission from them. And thank you to KEH for continuing to support Leigh and Raymond photography. This OM-5 is a fabulously compact body and I adore the retro look of it in silver. It has a 20 megapixel 4/3 sensor in body image stabilization. It has a slew of computational features that OM system has become known for. I'll share some of those that I've tried in a moment. This isn't the wildlife photography beast that the OM-1 Mark II is. This camera isn't as fast. It doesn't have animal detection autofocus, though it has picked up some animals for me, and you will see some wildlife photography in this video. And the camera is easy to use and it's highly capable. So it is a fantastic grab and go camera for any situation. And it's about half the price of that OM-1 Mark II. I'm not going to go through the entire list of specifications, but I will touch on some of them and why they were important to my photography outings as we go through the video. And you'll be able to see what the camera is capable of through seeing my photos. The first outing I went on with the camera was to the Desert Botanical Garden in Phoenix, Arizona. I captured photos around the garden, but I was excited to go to the annual butterfly exhibit. The butterfly space itself is pretty small and very busy, so the size and ease of use of the camera was very important. I needed to move quickly in between kids that were squeezing past me and butterflies adjusting their wings and crawling around on the leaves and flying off. I used the 90mm f3.5 macro lens, which with the 2x crop factor of a 4/3 sensor provides a full frame equivalent field of view of 180 millimeters. That combination allowed me to get as close as I wanted to the butterflies, and I was able to switch from continuous focus to manual focus when I wanted to be precise. And I set the camera to aperture priority and auto ISO and trusted the camera to take care of me with regard to exposure. I just kept an eye on my shutter speed when my subject was active, and I occasionally dialed in some exposure compensation. I did also shoot in RAW so that I could adjust in post-processing if needed. It didn't end up being needed. I barely edited these images at all. And what all of that allowed me to do was focus on my creativity, like angles, composition, what's in the foreground, what's in the background. And it allowed me to actually enjoy my time with the butterflies. I also experimented with focus bracketing and the in-camera focus stacking option outside of the exhibit with some barrel cactus. I did use the focus bracketing option with the intention of compiling the images and post-processing, but I didn't end up having to spend the time doing that because I tried the in-camera focus stacking option as well. I don't do a lot of focus stacking because it does take time in post-processing, and sitting at the computer is not my favorite thing, but I will definitely be more likely to use the focus stacking option in camera. In fact, I put the option on the My menu so that it would be quick to access. Incidentally, when I first set up for these photos, this cactus wren was yelling at me from its nest until I chose some cactuses that were further away. He kept hopping around, and it was actually a really good test for the OM-5 to see how quick it was. Like I said earlier, this camera certainly isn't as fast to focus as the OM-1 Mark II. It doesn't have as fast frames per second, but I had no issues photographing this guy. Moving on to my failed astrophotography outing. I really wanted to try Starry Night autofocus because so many of you have recommended it. Unfortunately, every time I went out with either one of these OM system cameras, the weather didn't cooperate. So on this pre-dawn trip, when it was alternating between rain, snow, and sleet, I pivoted to just doing some long exposure photos of the wild weather. Luckily, the OM system gear is well weather sealed, so I didn't have to worry about it. I hung around for a few hours, hopping in my car when the weather got really bad, and then jumping back out for more photos when I wasn't getting hit in the face with ice. I used manual focus because it was so dark that the camera had trouble focusing on these faraway mountains. But I did have focus peaking turned on so that I could visualize where the in-focus areas were. And I wanted to show you this photo. While I was using longer exposures to keep my ISO sensitivity down for many of the pre-dawn photos, I captured this flower handheld at ISO 5000. I captured it in RAW and didn't do any noise reduction on it. Cameras have come a long way in terms of low light performance, and different cameras will have different grain characteristics. So I wanted to point out that the noise is here because I would expect some grain at ISO 5000 on any camera, but it is relatively minimal, and the appearance of it isn't objectionable at all. Moving on to a ride up a ski lift at Snow Bowl just outside of Flagstaff, Arizona. I was able to bring the camera and a couple of lenses in my daily carry bag because, like I said, everything is so small. The view was definitely obstructed by smoke from a nearby wildflower, but I was not surprised to find that this camera was a great companion for an outing like this, where I wanted to have a good time and maybe come away with some nice photos. I actually experimented with autofocus on these ravens. I was surprised to find that on continuous autofocus, allowing the camera to look across the entire frame to detect the subject, I was pleasantly surprised to see that the camera picked up on the birds. I had also added high-res shot to the My menu so I could try that out. We are at one of the highest points in Arizona here, so the view is expansive. I tried high-res shot using a tripod, but there is also a handheld option, which I particularly enjoy because I don't always have a tripod with me. And while wildfires aren't great, they can enhance sunsets, which definitely happened on this day. I want to quickly talk about one more of the outings that I took the OM-5 on. This one was a trail run on Mount Eldon also in Flagstaff, Arizona. I said that this was a run, but I knew that I would be hiking too, so I had the camera around me with a thin camera strap. I was shuffling along most of the time, so it was fine that way, didn't bounce around too much, but when I was running downhill or over a lot of rocks and the camera was bouncing around, I just held it in my hand. And I had the screen tucked away so that it was protected. The camera with the 12 to 45 millimeter f4 lens isn't small enough to fit into the front pocket of my hydration vest, but it is small enough that it wasn't a nuisance. And I was able to have an equivalent field of view of 24 to 90 millimeters, which was awesome for this run. And then it started snowing a ton and the temperature dropped a ton. So while the camera and lens do have good weather sealing, I tucked it away into the front pouch of my full pullover and concentrated on getting back to the warmth of my car. There are a couple OM system features that I still haven't been able to explore, like Starry Night autofocus and live neutral density shooting. If you are interested in seeing projects with those features, let me know in the comments below, and I will be sure to create videos around my experiments with them. I know a lot of you are interested in OM system or are already using them, so definitely let me know if there are any features or genres of photography that you are interested in seeing me explore with them. As I said, this is a loaner OM-5, but I will be receiving mine at some point in the near future. And to wrap this up, I obviously had a good time with the OM-5. It's highly capable. It is an easy to use camera with plenty of options to customize how it works. And really, I just like holding it in my hands and using it. And that is an important piece of the puzzle for me. I enjoy the tactile experience with the kind of retro dials and the overall look. While I don't need all of my cameras to look cool, it definitely makes me want to pick them up more when I like looking at them. And that means I'm going to use it more and I'm going to have more photos. And that's all for today. I am now going to be the owner of a Micro Four Thirds mount camera. Tell me what lenses I should be looking at. I would love to hear your favorites. Thank you to OM System for allowing me to borrow this gear. Thank you to KEH for supporting this channel. Remember, there's a bunch of links in the description of this video. And thank you for watching.